Hello again. It's been a somber Easter weekend for some residents of Langa in Cape Town. The community, devastated by fire, is now trying to rebuild. The blaze is understood to have destroyed around 260 homes, leaving hundreds of people displaced or homeless. For more on this, eNCA reporter Ronald Masinda joining us now live from Langa. Ronald, good afternoon. It's still unclear, I understand at this stage, what caused this fire, but residents say the city of Cape Town has not been helpful enough to provide them with building structures.
Good afternoon. Well, for several hours, residents have been scrambling, trying to rebuild their structures as they look ahead to what is supposed to be a start of the week for them for tomorrow. Many children have to go back to school and many residents have to go back to work. We do understand, from people that we spoke to, some of the residents are only coming back from their holidays from the Eastern Cape today. So one can only imagine just the sight of seeing their structures completely gutted. But what we can also say at this stage, and this is according to the ward councillor, is that some of the residents are, although they do sound grateful in terms of the assistance they have received from the city, some of the NGOs and NPOs who have assisted them with basic necessities such as food and water. They want more in terms of the structures, building structures, many of them saying that they will be without their homes for quite some time. We do know that there is alternative accommodation also provided here in Langa for some of them. We do also understand, that there was a protest, some of the residents reportedly threatening City of Cape Town staff because of the cry for more structures so that they can rebuild their homes. We heard from Ward 56, a ward councillor, and this is what he had to say.
The demands are genuine and the demands are clear that the City of Cape Town has the responsibility of ensuring that when there is a fire that happens, they are at least able to provide building materials for the people as they've done in the past. But what we have learned with this situation and many other fires that have taken place before is that City of Cape Town no longer provides building material or what they term as the fire kits. And when the people ask those questions as to why are we no longer given the fire kits that we used to be given, the city shifts the responsibility to national. And when we ask national also shifts the responsibility back to the city. But we do believe that it is the sole responsibility of City of Cape Town to ensure that when there is fire in shacks and in black townships, most importantly, they are able to provide our people with building material so that they can start their livelihoods once again.
Now, in addition to that, local councillor, Ronald, I understand now you've got your deputy mayor there with you. I wonder what he's got to say.
Yes, Pratan, we are indeed joined by the Deputy Mayor, Eddie Andrews. Eddie, thank you so much for your time. We heard from Lwazi Phakathi, the Ward 56 councillor here, saying that it's actually supposed to be the city's responsibility to provide fire kits as well as some structures for them to rebuild their homes. What is your response to that?
I think we have to understand that a fire in informal settlement is devastating. You can look behind us, approximately 300 structures have been burnt to the ground. And first and foremost for our City of Cape Town, we have to do an assessment. Better part all of yesterday, that most of today we've done the assessment. We can now confidently confirm that just about 260 structures have been affected, have been burnt to ground, and just under 800 people have been, of course, left without a home this evening as well. So now that we have the assessment, we have already engaged with our colleagues at province and at national government to see how do we coordinate our efforts to ensure the structures are on site as a matter of urgency. Without a proper assessment of what the damage is, we won't be able to respond to it. And that has been done. We have not waited for that only. Our electricity department has already been on site to do an assessment as to what will be required to restore power. Ablution facilities have been completely burnt down, about approximately 20 of them. Those will be replaced in the next couple of days as well. And so the restoration of this area has already begun.
All right, just briefly on that matter, is there hope for people to receive those structures?
There's always hope. I think we will never say there's no hope. So that's why it's important that we engage with our colleagues, we follow our processes. It is taking a bit too long, and unfortunately without the proper assessment, we can't move forward. The next step is we can't take that next step. And the fact that we have the assessment now, solid waste will come and clean the debris, and then of course we will have feedback. I'm unable to speculate at this stage about when, but we have engaged our colleagues to see how we can, as a collective, provide the relief to rebuild the structures.
Having seen the raging visuals of that fire, one can hardly imagine that only one person succumbed to death, given that a lot of people live in this area. Why then don't you, as city, find solutions for people to be removed from areas like this into proper and adequate housing?
That is precisely our intention, is to ensure that people move into a formal structure. There is, of course, the registering of the housing database. We are asking people to apply, and of course, once you qualify, you'll move to a location. The problem is not moving to a formal structure. The problem is once you vacate your structure and you now get a formal housing opportunity, what happens to that structure? And the cycle just continues and continues. And until we find a sustainable solution to remedy that, we will never have informal settlements a lot less dense than what it is, because when a fire hits here, in a blink of an eye, you have hundreds of structures that have burnt to ground.
And the concern is we are heading to winter, and more of these events have played out in the past. How, as a city, will you plan around this?
It's part of our winter readiness program as well. We know there are informal settlements, there is flooding. Fire in winter is also an issue for us as well. We are constantly engaging with informal settlements, the leaders, and saying how we can help them. We've got our reblocking program as well to ensure that when one unit burns, that the entire strip is just burnt down in a matter of seconds. So we will continue those engagements to raise awareness as to how do you access those resources during the winter period.
Is it time for other spheres of government to step in?
It's always time for spheres of government to work together, not just when there's a disaster like this, but to get on the front foot and do things proactively.
Is that a failure on the city, though?
Sorry, say again?
Is that a failure on the city to deal with the situation for other spheres of government to step in?
Oh, no, we are always engaging with other spheres of government. That's not a failure. I think sometimes our processes take too long, but we are engaging with our colleagues at province and at national as well, to see how do we get responses a lot more on the front foot than delayed as the case here.
And I say that because of the housing backlog that has been going on for decades. And like you said now, your processes are taking too long. At which point in time would you say that this is a time that we eradicate issues faced by many people living in these areas?
I think it's a very important question. There's always more people on the database than opportunities available. And that is why that those persons who are living informally, please approach your local housing office to register for that opportunity. That's the only door you can knock on for an opportunity. Without your registration at that office, it is impossible for you to get a housing opportunity and to see that if you qualify. Sometimes you qualify and sometimes you don't qualify. But there are other opportunities that we can present to you, of course, depending on your status as a qualifier.
All right. Eddie Andrews, thank you very much indeed. Pradan, that was the Deputy Mayor of the City of Cape Town. We are expecting other people from government to step in and also to engage with the people on the ground. We did hear earlier on, Pradan, that the Deputy Minister for Human Settlements, Pam Chwete, will also be here tomorrow.
Thank you very much, Ronald Masinda, for that latest update from the ground there at Langa, one of those informal settlements that's been razed literally almost to the ground by the weekend fire. Now people are trying to rebuild once more.